Hi everybody. In this video we're going to be looking at more complex probability problems. In particular, we're going to be looking at AND problems, OR problems, at least problems, and at most problems. We're going to be looking at 4 different problems here in this video, and each one is an example of one of these problems. We're going to look at this example. Tony is playing a game where he is rolling a die and spinning a spinner. He wants to find the probability of rolling an even number with the die or landing on a pink sector with the spinner. We can approach this problem by using the sample space for the experiment. Because this is a 2-step experiment, we will use an array to show the sample space for this experiment. You can see the array here. On the left-hand side, we can see all the outcomes that we would get if we rolled the die. And across the top here, we can see all the outcomes we would get if we spin the spinner. If I look at all of the outcomes in this first column, we have all of the outcomes where we have got blue on the spinner. It doesn't matter what happens on the die, we get blue on the spinner each time. In the top row, the second row here, we can see that we've got all the outcomes where we've got 2 on the die. It doesn't matter what we get on the spinner, we just get 2 on the die. So, if we examine this sample space, we can count how many outcomes there are in the sample space. We can see that we've got 6 rows and we've got 5 columns. So the number of outcomes in my sample space will be 5 times 6, which is equal to 30 outcomes. So now we're going to be looking at solving this problem. First of all, let's look and see where we get an even number on the die. These are the outcomes where I get an even number on the die. 2, 4, and 6. Now we want to find those outcomes where we have got a pink with the spinner. Now I have already ticked 3 of these outcomes where we got pink with the spinner, but there are 3 more. There's this one here, and this one here. Now when we say we want an even number on the die or the pink on the spinner, it means I want one or the other. So I have to count all of these outcomes where I either got an even number on the die or a pink on the spinner. And I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I have 18 outcomes there where I have got an even number on the die or a pink on the spinner. So my probability of getting an even number on the die or a pink on the spinner will be equal to 18 out of 30. And I can simplify that down to 6 goes into 18 and 6 goes into 30, so it's going to be 3 out of 5. So here is my probability of getting an even number on the die or a pink on the spinner. Let's go to this second problem now. What is the probability of rolling an even number with the die and landing on a pink sector with the spinner? Now this is a different problem to the first one. We want to find the outcomes where we have an even number on the die and at the same time we have landed on a pink sector with the spinner. So what we need to do here is we need to identify those outcomes. Here I have an even number and a pink on the spinner. Here I have an even number and a pink on the spinner. Here I have an even number with a pink on the spinner. So we only have 3 outcomes in the sample space which give us this. So the probability of getting an even number on the die and a pink on the spinner will be equal to 3 out of 30. Now that can be simplified. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 30 10 times. So the probability of getting an even number on the die and a pink on the spinner will be 1 out of 10, or 1/10. Now let's look at this problem. What is the probability of rolling at least a 5 on the die? At least a 5. Now at least means that I must get a 5 or more on the die, which means that I must get a 5 or a 6. At least 5 means I must include 5 and then everything above it. So let's highlight all of the outcomes that give us a 5 or a 6 on the die. It doesn't matter what happens on the spinner isn't even mentioned. So we can get all 5 colours on the spinner as long as we get a 5 or a 6 on my die. And you can see here that I have highlighted here 10 outcomes. So the probability of me getting at least 5 on the die is going to be equal to 10 out of 30. Now 10 goes into 10 once, 10 goes into 33 times. So my probability is going to be 1 out of 3. This is the final problem. What is the probability of rolling at most a 5 on the die? Now at most means that I must have a 5, but as well I need every number below 5. So I need to have at least 5 and all the other numbers below it. Once again, the spinner isn't even mentioned. So it doesn't matter what I get on the spinner. I can get all 5 colours on the spinner, but I must get 5 or less on the die. Now we can see here when we highlight all the outcomes which give us what we want. Once again, I'm not worried about the colours on the spinner. I can get all 5 colours. Now you can see here that I have highlighted altogether 5 lots of 5 outcomes here. So my probability here is going to be 25 outcomes out of the 30 give me at most 5 on the die. So the probability of me getting at most 5 on the die is going to be equal to 25 out of 30. Now this can be simplified as well. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 goes into 30 6 times. So the probability of me rolling at most a 5 on the die will be 5/6. Now there is an easier and quicker way to do this. If we look at this problem again, we can see that the outcomes that I haven't highlighted here are the 5 outcomes at the bottom where we got a 6 on the die. Now remember, all of our probabilities should add to 1. So if I now say that this probability is also equal to 1 minus 5 out of 30. because I have 5 outcomes there where the outcomes are not at most 5. They're greater than 5. Now, 1 minus 5 on 30. Remember, 1 is the same as 30 on 30. So 30 divided by 30 minus 5 divided by 30 will give me 25 out of 30. The same answer that I got over here. And then, of course, I can simplify it again and make it 5 out of 6. This is probably a much quicker way to do the same problem. You can do them either way. It doesn't matter. You'll still get the right answer. So now, after watching this video, I want you to do some skills practice. I want you to go to your OneNote and complete questions 1 to 6 under the heading Activity. Remember, the important thing about these types of questions is you must use the sample space. Write down the sample space first and then identify the outcomes which give you the outcome that you want. Have fun with your practice. Thank you.